When I handed the landlord 1,500 pesos for my first week's rent in Tondo, Manila, he counted it twice, held each bill up to the light, then nodded. No visitors after 10 p.m. Water is rationed. Brownouts happen. I looked at the narrow room. A foam mattress on plywood. A single bulb hanging from a wire. Walls so thin I could hear 3 different families arguing, cooking, and singing. This was home now. My friends back in Australia thought I'd lost my mind. "You're going to get robbed," they said. "You won't last 3 days." But I wasn't there for an adventure or a travel vlog. 6 months earlier, I'd lost my job in corporate finance. The work had burned me out completely. 80-hour weeks, a 6-figure salary, and somehow, I'd never felt more empty. I started questioning everything. What was I working for? Why did I feel so alone despite having everything? That's when I saw a documentary about urban poverty in Manila. But what struck me wasn't the hardship. It was the faces. People smiling, laughing, helping each other. I thought, how is that possible? So I booked a one-way ticket, withdrew enough cash to live on 250 pesos a day, and decided to find out. No fancy hotels, no tourist traps. Just life as it actually is for millions of Filipinos. What I discovered didn't just change my perspective. It shattered everything I thought I knew about happiness, wealth, and what it means to truly live. My room was on the 3rd floor of a concrete building that shook every time a truck passed. The bathroom was shared by 8 families. The first morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. to the smell of fried fish and the sound of water splashing as people took their baths using tabo and bucket. I grabbed my toiletries and joined the line. An old woman, maybe 70, smiled at me. "Bago ka dito?" "New here." I nodded. She laughed and patted my shoulder. "Mabilis lang ako. 5 minutes lang." True to her word, she was done fast, and as she passed me, she said, "May sabon ka ba? You have soap?" I showed her my bar. She shook her head and handed me hers. "Use this. Mas mabango. Smells better." I stood there, confused. She didn't know me. I was a stranger, and she just gave me her soap. That first week, I did what everyone else did. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. because that's when the water pressure was strongest. I bought my meals from the carinderia at the corner. 15 pesos for rice, 25 pesos for adobo or sinigang. I learned to stretch 250 pesos across an entire day. Jeepney fare, food, water, and maybe a small load for my phone. I took the jeepney to nowhere in particular, just to see the city. Sitting crammed between a student and a construction worker, I noticed something. People talked. Not just polite nods, real conversations. "San ka punta? Where are you going? Ang init ngayon, no? It's so hot today, right?" Strangers became seatmates. Seatmates became friends, at least for that 7-peso ride. One afternoon I got lost trying to find my way back. I asked a street vendor for directions. He was selling ice candy, those small plastic tubes of frozen juice. And he not only gave me directions, he walked me 3 blocks out of his way to make sure I found the right jeepney stop. Then he handed me an ice candy. "Para sa init," he said. "For the heat." I tried to pay. He refused. By day 5, I realized something unsettling. In my old life, I'd lived in the same apartment building for 2 years and didn't know a single neighbor's name. Here, in less than a week, I knew Ate Gloria, who sold pandesal in the mornings, Kuya Ben the tricycle driver, the kids who played patintero in the alley, and Aling Nena who always had gossip and a smile. I wasn't just living in Tondo. I was becoming part of it. One morning, I met a man named Mang Tonio. He pushed a wooden cart through the street selling balut and pinoy, calling out in a rhythm that echoed through the alleys. "Balut! Pinoy!" I bought one, and we started talking. He told me he'd been selling balut for 30 years. Every night, he walked 15 kilometers through different barangays. "Do you ever get tired?" I asked. He smiled. "Every day. But my body is tired, not my spirit. I have 3 children. 2 are in college. 1 is a nurse now. When I walk, I think of them. That makes me strong." I asked if I could walk with him one night. He looked surprised, but agreed. That evening, I pushed the cart while he called out. My arms ached after an hour. He did this for 6 hours every night. But what amazed me wasn't his endurance. It was how people treated him. "Mang Tonio, kumusta? How are you?" A woman buying balut asked about his wife's arthritis. A group of men drinking invited him to sit, joking and laughing. A kid ran up and gave him a drawing. Para sa'yo, Tate Tonio. For you. He wasn't just a vendor, he was a thread in the fabric of the community. That night, he split his earnings with me. No, I protested. I didn't do anything. He insisted. You helped. We share. I made 87 pesos that night. It felt like more than any paycheck I'd ever received the next week. A typhoon hit. Not a super typhoon, but strong enough that classes were suspended and the streets flooded knee-deep. I stayed inside, watching the water rise, wondering if this was the moment I should quit and check into a hotel. Then I heard a knock. It was Ate Gloria and her 2 kids. Kuya, we're going to evacuate to the barangay hall. Come with us. She didn't ask if I had money or connections. She just assumed I was one of them. At the evacuation center, 70 people crammed into one room. Families spread out mats, shared food, played cards. Kids ran around laughing despite everything. An old man played guitar. People sang. I sat there, soaking wet, exhausted and somehow happy. A mother with a baby sat next to me. Her name was Leah. We talked for hours. She told me she worked as a laundry woman, washing clothes by hand for 200 pesos a day. Her husband drove a pedicab. Together, they barely made enough. But when I asked if she ever wished for a different life, she said, "Of course. I wish my kids could have more. But wishing doesn't feed them. Working does. Loving them does." Then she looked at me. "You're not from here, are you?" My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" She smiled. "Your hands. Too soft. And you look sad. Like you're searching for something." I didn't know what to say, so I just told her the truth. "I'm trying to understand what happiness is." She laughed. "Happiness is not something you find, Kuya. It's something you build. Every day, little by little, with the people around you." That night, I realized I'd been searching for happiness. It was a destination, but these people knew it was a practice. By week 3, I was exhausted. The heat was unbearable. The noise never stopped. I hadn't slept more than 5 hours in days. One night, lying on my thin mattress, staring at the ceiling, I felt the weight of everything. I pulled out my hidden ATM card, thinking, just one night in an air-conditioned hotel. Then I heard singing. Outside my window, Kuya Ben and his friends were drinking and playing guitar badly. Beautifully. Off-key but full of joy. I went downstairs. They saw me and immediately made space. "Kanta ka! Sing!" I laughed and said I couldn't sing. They didn't care. They handed me a beer, Red Horse, warm, and taught me the chorus to Hawak Kame. We sang until midnight. I forgot about the hotel. I forgot about my discomfort. In that moment, crammed in a narrow alley, singing with people who had nothing but gave everything, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt alive. The next day, something happened that broke me completely. I was walking through the market when I saw a small commotion. A kid, maybe 10 years old, was crying. He'd dropped a bag of rice, probably 50 pesos worth, and it had spilled into the dirty street. His mother was trying to scoop it up, but it was ruined. I watched vendors stop their work. One by one, they started handing the mother things. A cup of rice, some vegetables, a few coins. No one announced it. No one took photos. They just gave. The mother cried. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. The kid hugged her. I stood there, tears streaming down my face, realizing I came from a world where people have everything and share nothing. I was now in a world where people have nothing and share everything. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mang Tonio, Ate Gloria, Leia, Kuya Ben. They had every reason to be bitter, angry, defeated. But they weren't. They chose joy. They chose community. They chose love. And I realized I'd been living in poverty my whole life. Not financial poverty, spiritual poverty. On my last weekend, the neighborhood organized a small fiesta. Nothing fancy, just tables set up in the street, everyone bringing food, kids running around, karaoke blasting. They invited me, of course. I brought pancit from the carinderia, the most I could afford. But when I arrived, I saw the spread. Lechon. Someone had saved for months. Lumpia, adobo, halo. And I realized, this feast cost more than some of these families earned in a week. Yet, they gave it freely. We ate, laughed, danced. At one point, Mang Tonio stood up and gave a toast, to family, to friends, to everyone here. We may not have much, but we have each other. And that is everything. Everyone cheered. I felt a lump in my throat. Later, as the party wound down, I sat with Kuya Ben, Ate Gloria, and Leah. And I couldn't keep it in anymore. I need to tell you all something, I said. My voice shook. I'm not actually poor. I have money. I came here because I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what life was like. I'm sorry. I lied to you. Silence. The music played in the distance. I braced for anger, for disappointment. Then Kuya Ben laughed. A deep, genuine laugh. Alam namin. We know. I stared at him. What? Ate Gloria smiled. You think we're blind? Your shoes are too new. You never haggle at the market. And your Tagalog, she grinned, is terrible. They all laughed. I felt my face burn. Leah put her hand on mine. But you know what, Kuya? You never treated us like we were less. You lived with us. You worked with us. You laughed with us. You didn't look at us with pity. You looked at us with respect. That's why we let you stay. Tears rolled down my face. I came here thinking I'd teach myself something. But you all taught me everything. Mang Tonio raised his glass. Then our job is done. We toasted. And in that moment, I felt wealthier than I'd ever felt in my life. When I left Tondo, half the neighborhood came to say goodbye. Ate Gloria packed me food for the flight. The kids gave me drawings. Kuya Ben gave me a bracelet his daughter made. Para hindi ka makalimot. So you won't forget. As the taxi pulled away, I looked back. They were waving, smiling, shouting, Balik ka ha! Come back! I cried the entire way to the airport. People ask me now, what did you learn? And I tell them this. I learned that poverty and richness have nothing to do with money. I met people who earned 200 pesos a day and gave half of it away. I met families living in 10-square-meter rooms who made space for strangers. I met a man who walked 15 kilometers every night and still had the energy to sing. I learned that in the West, we're taught to build walls around our homes, our hearts, our lives. But in the Philippines, I saw people build tables, and everyone was invited. I came to the Philippines pretending to be poor. But the truth is, I was poor all along. Poor in connection, poor in joy, poor in knowing what actually matters. And those poor Filipinos, they were the richest people I'd ever met. If this story touched you, subscribe to this channel. Share it with someone who needs to remember that happiness isn't found in what you have. It's found in who you share it with. And if you ever visit the Philippines, don't just see the beaches and the malls, walk through the neighborhoods, eat at the carinderias, ride the jeepneys, talk to the people, because that's where the real Philippines lives, not in resorts, but in the resilience, generosity, and unbreakable spirit of its people. I left the Philippines 3 months ago. But the Philippines never left me, Salamat. Thank you for everything.